Hi everyone, welcome to the Bootleg, our Tennessean high school football show where we discuss the top games and top issues each week of the year. It's week 6, halfway through the regular season. I'm Tom Kreager, high school sports editor here at the Tennessean. He's Joe Spears, our high school football guru?
Yeah.
Probably, maybe that's the biggest issue. Last week, you went 7-3.
I did.
You picked the games too, don't you, for the most part?
I do, yes, correct.
I went 9-1, folks. The one game I missed, though, I'm probably getting more harassment at home than any other game. I picked Rockville to lose that game to Riverdale, and the Rockets prevailed. And my son, who is a sophomore at Rockville, has not let me live that down. Hopefully, we'll do better this week. Stay tuned on that. Game of the week. Potentially one of the top 5 games of the year, I think.
Absolutely.
Montgomery Bell Academy 5-0. They go to Brentwood Academy 4-1. It's a non-region game. I've already talked to Cody White and asked to reserve me a spot on the 20-yard line so I could have a spot to cover it. He laughed, but he also assured me that they expect a pretty large crowd there. So if you're going to Brentwood Academy on Friday night, you might want to get there a little earlier to get you a better parking spot. But not way too early, so I have time to find my parking spot. So break the game down for me.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better quarterback matchup, a better running back matchup, a better offensive line versus defensive line matchup. I mean, you got the seasoned vet and Marcel Reed taking on the young buck, the up-and-coming guy in George McIntyre. Hasn't thrown an interception this year. I believe he's only been sacked once. Mm-hmm. He's been as good as they come this year. Then you got 2 very similar backs in Duke Scott versus Jonathan Moore, 2 big backs that also have a ton of speed. And then that NBA defensive line that's been so dominant going against Brentwood Academy's offensive line that's kept George up and opened up those holes for Duke. So this is, I would love to have seen this matchup. You called dibs, obviously. You got seniority over me. It's going to be a fun night. Like you said, get there earlier if you're going. I think NBA just a little more experienced. Both guys have a lot of seniors. Marcel's been in this game a lot. He's been in big-time situations like this, and his ability to run the ball has been huge this year. And I think his legs carry NBA to another win. I got them winning a narrow 24-21.
I think you kind of touched on, we talk about Marcel versus George, and I can't believe you called him the young buck. George Young Buck McIntyre. I'll see if he hears that. We talk about that. That's from a standpoint of a writer. That's the story. But really, I think what's going to win the game is on the line.
Yeah.
Talking to a coach today, actually, I was in our parking garage coming up. I was talking to someone, and I asked them about this game. I said, Brentwood Academy probably matches up better with NBA than really anyone else.
Yeah.
Maybe Baylor, you could make the argument, just because of they're so both teams, NBA and NBA, are so physical on the front line. Mm-hmm. That's going to be, to me, who controls the line of scrimmage, offensive line, defensive line, both ways, is to me the story. I've got NBA winning this game 34-28. This game could go either way, though.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a coin flip game.
Next game, Rockville 4-1 at Nolensville 5-0. That's the game you're going to be at.
Absolutely.
Break down the Nolensville versus the Rockets.
Yeah, so last week we both picked against Rockville, and they stunned us both. I'm sure you're hearing a little bit more than I am, but first ever win over Riverdale. That was one of the biggest wins in program history. I would think you could go against the number 1 player in the state, Caleb Herring. They shut down Riverdale's offense. I believe it was 20-7. That defense is going to get their biggest test of the season though this week. The Nolensville offense is as good as any in the state. They've scored 35 or more points 4 out of their 5 games. The only game they didn't do it was against Giles County. Giles County is a pretty good team. We're going to talk about them in a bit. But, Chance Fitzgerald's really establishing himself as one of the best receivers in the area. I think he's had 100 or more yards in all but 1 game this season. He had a big game last week. Kobe Walton's really, establishing himself. He included him, obviously, in our mid-season report on quarterbacks in the area. He's one of those guys. He's having a great year. And then Samson Johnson, the established guy. You look at all the factors, and Rockville's this great story, and They're having a great year, and they're going to continue to have a great year. But I think Nolensville has a little too much for them to handle, especially offensively being at home. So I've got Nolensville winning 38-24.
Nolensville was a team that probably maybe underperformed from what we thought we were going to see last year.
Absolutely.
They have made up for it this year. I think they had some injuries and other things that led to last season. So I want to say, when I say underperformed, they didn't live up to what we kind of expected, but there's some underlying circumstances there. I told last week I went with my head and not my heart when I picked Riverdale over Rockvale. And my son smacked me on the arm. It's still a little sore. When I told him I went 9-1, and he knew exactly what game I missed. But I'm going with that head again. I just, and this is maybe a bad head decision. Maybe I've been hit a few times, but Nolensville's passing game is so good, and we talk about the receivers. But Rockville's secondary, led by sophomore Jalen Morgan, who's got some Power 5 offers already. He's a stud in the defensive backfield. And they got the Frierson kid back there making plays, and their secondary is probably their strength on their defense. I'm still going to go in a tight game. Nolensville 28, Rockville 21. Don't hurt me, Coach Gut, if I'm wrong there again this week. Smyrna 4-0 at Riverdale 3-2. Riverdale needs a win. I know this is a non-region game, but they need a win this week, I think.
They do, and it's not a great week to need a win because this Smyrna team's clicking on all factors, and a lot of that has to do with Aaron Carter. I mean, the kid he's had a great year both offensively, but you look at what he's done defensively. He is the Bulldogs' leader, and he's just racking up Power 5 offer after offer. I mean, he's on that. He's a guy that you have to go out and see at some point, whether he's running the ball. Cecil Joyce actually showed us a video the other day of him sacking Laverne's quarterback, just explosive on that side of the ball. He's an explosive player. Riverdale, they have a couple wins. Offensively, they struggled in the big games, though. I mean, Blackman, they scored against Blackman. They didn't score as much as they needed to. Last week, they hardly scored at all. That doesn't bode well because Smyrna's defense is really good even outside of Carter. That secondary is great. I don't think that's really going to help them this week. I've got Smyrna winning this one 24-17.
Was it last week? Arian Carter got an offer from, I think maybe Sunday got an offer from Alabama, and that really springboarded a lot of offers like Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky. I don't know who else is USC. The one thing I heard from a recruiting guy was the big thing with Arian. I think early on there, people were recruiting him as a running back. And I don't think he's an SEC running back, but what I think he's shown is that he's an SEC linebacker. And I think that's what colleges are seeing, and that's why they've kind of reevaluated him and are starting to come out in rows with a lot of offers. So that's, he's committed to Memphis. He says he's a firm commitment for Memphis. How do you turn down the Vols, your home state? How do you turn down Alabama? Wait and see.
Yep.
Smyrna wins that game 20-14 if I didn't say it, if I didn't tell you that. Green Hill 4-1, 2-0 and 5-5 at White County 4-1, 1-1. You had a front row seat to Malachi Dow last week.
I did. He did not disappoint. Mount Juliet kind of bottled him up early the first couple drives. They went down 21-0, and when they needed a touchdown, he delivered. The kid ran for 330 yards and 4 touchdowns. Those numbers are legit. I mean, it doesn't matter who they're going against. He is an explosive runner. He's a lot of fun to watch. They have a great quarterback, too, in Trip Pinion, who had some big runs, too. So you got to kind of watch out for both of those guys. But Dowell he's explosive, and it'll be a really good test this week. He might be going against the best defense he's played all year. Green Hill's defense has not given up more than 19 points in any of their games. They have a lot of weapons on offense. Caleb Carver. They have Brax Lambert at running back. I think that's what it's going to come down to this week, especially if that defense is playing well and they can limit, not slow down, but limit Dow. And they get their
300 yards? Limit him to 300?
250 maybe.
Okay.
But Brax Lambert, that was kind of the issue White County had last week. They couldn't slow down Dearius Morton. The run game for the Golden Bears carried them to that win in the end, and I think Lambert is as good as any running back out there. I think he has a big game. I got Green Hill winning this one in a high-scoring game, though, 38-35.
See, I don't know if that's high-scoring enough the way I think these games kind of pan out there. I think Green Hill wins this game. I was looking at Green Hill's season stats that Coach Crouch sent me over this morning. There's not a really big standout on defense. It's the kid like, oh yeah, he's their bell cow.
Yeah.
There's not really that guy, but there are a lot of people that are making plays for them.
Right.
Offensively, they're not probably throwing it as well as they did a year ago. Mahoney's had a few more picks, I think, this year. Running the ball, they're okay running the ball. I think they're good enough to hold on to a win here. Green Hill 42, White County 35, and this sets up, I think, later in the season for a heck of a Mount Juliet Green Hill. We may have to look at the matchups that week and do a little thumb wrestling to figure out who's gonna cover that one, because that'll be a great game there. East Nashville 5-0 at Independence 3-2. Break that one down for me.
You talk about a team needed to win. This Indy team needs something. In the big games, they've struggled this year. CPA, Pope, they got blown out in both games. And quarterback play has been an issue. I mean, they've played a lot of guys at quarterbacks this year, and none of them have really had a lot of success. Ty Lockwood's finally getting in the mix a little bit, but you look at the quarterback play, that's kind of playing a factor in why his stats maybe aren't as high as they are. The offense has been limited. Defense has some playmakers. It looked like they started Brooks Chapponi last week against Franklin. He's kind of a dual threat guy, and I think right now he probably gives them their best chance to win. I mean, he's an experienced senior. He's done it on both sides of the ball for him. That's going to be big against an East Nashville team that has not let up since last season. I saw him in the preseason, and Coach Stewart was not happy with how they were doing. They've turned a corner apparently, because this team was a lot of fun. They've been a lot of fun this year. Zach Beard's had a lot of great games. He has some weapons to work with. I think this game being at Independence, and Independence kind of being in desperation mode right now before they really get in the heart of region play, I think they're going to win a narrow 27-24 game.
This is one of the games we're different on. That means my 3-point lead maybe go to a 4-game lead, and it gets to 4 or 5 guys, and this is over. This is like confetti in the newsroom, everything. I think East Nashville wins this game 21-14. You made a point about the quarterback play with not having Lockwood early in the season, but I think that can work both ways. I think Lockwood, I don't know, I mean, with his appendix issue, that had to have set him back some, because I mean, if you got your appendix out, it's not like you're running on the side and keeping in shape, because you really can't move.
Right.
So that, I think, is him getting back in game shape and play shape and knowing all the plays and getting where he can make a significant impact. I think that's probably been a factor on what we saw with Cody early on. Trey Hartwell, they keyed up on him. I saw when they played in Centennial, they did a good job outside of the one long run game-winning touchdown. I mean, they kept Trey Hartwell intact. But I think East Nashville wins this game 21-14. Big win for the Eagles. I believe in you, Coach Stewart. Just remember that. He picked against you. Cane Ridge 4-1 at CPA 3-2. Cane Ridge 4-1, but I think they really need a strong showing here.
They do. They beat Laverne last week, but they had less than 250 yards of total offense, and it's kind of, Laverne hasn't played great this year. That's kind of a game you maybe expect some guys like Reggie Goodlow and Mose Phillips and Siobhan Abdullah to kind of flex their muscle in, but not so much. I think it was like 27-13. CPA, another team that kind of needs a win before they really get in the heart of their region play as well. This game being at CPA, and CPA kind of having a dual quarterback system with Thomas Vaccaro and Brandon Streeter. They've both seen some success this year, and I'm just not sure Cane Ridge has an answer for London Humphreys outside. I think he makes a couple of big catches. I got CPA winning this one 34-21.
I think it's a big. I think CPA wins this game. I think it's a close one. I think Cane Ridge. They didn't play great against Laverne. 2 weeks ago, they got beat by Father Ryan. 3 weeks ago, they played McGavick, and they didn't really look good for about a quarter and a half. They need to get on track and play the style that Eddie Woods wants them to. I think you're going to see a lot of Mose Phillips on London. Yeah. That's a really intriguing matchup, folks. Mose Phillips, third, I think it is. His dad's played at UT, and his defensive coordinator at Cane Ridge. But I think that's a very intriguing secondary matchup there. But yeah, I picked 35-28 CPA over Cane Ridge. Page 5-0 at Giles County, 4-1. We don't talk about Page enough, I don't think.
I don't think we do, and a lot of people should. The Patriots are really good. Colin Hurd threw a couple interceptions last week against a really good Franklin County team. Didn't matter. They rolled. Page has so many weapons. Max Collins, Ethan Cunningham, Boy Smith, Hurd's got a lot of weapons to work with. This is going to be a really intriguing matchup for the simple fact of you have Page and Nolensville here in a couple weeks. Nolensville played Giles County earlier in the year, and Giles County took them to the brink. They got a really good running back in Zori Randolph. I just think Page is on a different level than a lot of 5A teams right now. I'm really excited to see what that Nolensville matchup brings about. I got Page running away with this one, though, 35-24.
I think it's closer. Giles County, Coach O'Connor always does a great job there. Page will finish. I think we're looking at a Page Nolensville undefeated streak, undefeated game in a few weeks. I got Page 24-14 over Giles County. Upperman 3-2 at Watertown 2-3. This is the TV game of the week. Both teams are in dire needs of wins, I think.
Upperman hasn't had a 3-game losing streak, I think, since 2016. I think the Bees are much better than that. They had a 1-point loss last week. They lost to maybe the best team in 1A 2 weeks ago in Fayetteville. Watertown struggled at times this year, and I think Upperman's talent wins out in this one. I got them getting back on track 27-13.
Upperman 35-14. I agree with everything you said. Both teams need to win in a big time. I think Upperman finally gets back on track. 2 more games to talk about. Portland 4-1 at Macon County 5-0.
Yeah, Macon County won a close one last year, 24-21, and the Tigers are great offensively this year. They've had 40 or more points in 4 of their 5 games. They're clicking. Portland had a really close call last week, kind of a surprise game against was it Northeast, 22-21. I just think Macon County has too many weapons. This offense is clicking way too well for them to slip up. I got them winning this one 38-21.
Portland is a team I thought was going to be really, really good in that region, would contend for that number 2 spot. I think they still could, probably going to be 3rd place behind Springfield and Henry County. You can flip-flop that if you want. I think right now Springfield might be the best team in that region. Portland probably right now playing like a 3rd. Portland wins that game. Portland 20 to Macon County 14. And the last game of the week, Davidson Academy 2-2 at Nashville Christian 2-2. It's the battle of 2-2 teams.
It is, in battle of 2 teams that started the year 0-2 and have won back-to-back games in blowout fashion. I just think Nashville Christian's young. They have a lot. You look at their roster and a lot of their top performers so far this year. Freshmen, sophomore, a couple juniors. Mm-hmm. Davidson Academy, their experience. You have Knox Roberts at quarterback. He got his top weapon back in Cortland Simmons last week. I think that's going to play a factor in this one, and that's why I got Davidson Academy winning 31-21.
You took my thunder. Cortland Simmons, his return means Davidson Academy is a lot better football team. That's bottom line. Absolutely. Davidson Academy 42, Nashville Christian 21. I want to leave you with this fact. Kreager 37-13, Spears 34-16, 3-game lead. Big week. I could make this not even a contest anymore. We'll see if I give him a chance to play back into it. We'll see you next week on the Bootleg. Thanks for joining us.